Welcome to the School Owner Talk podcast, the longest-running martial arts school owner podcast in our industry. Join Duane Brumitt and Allie Alberigo as they share expert insights, proven strategies, and the keys to growing your martial arts business. Let's take your school to the next level. And now here's our hosts, Duane and Allie.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of School Owner Talk, the podcast where we do dive into real-world challenges and practical strategies for martial arts school owners. I'm Duane Brumitt.
And I'm Allie Alberigo, and today we're going to be tackling a topic that school owners often underestimate, and it's the summer marketing. That's slump.
Yep, that's true. And when attendance drops and families take vacations, really too many school owners, think that it's time to pull back from their social media, and that actually couldn't be further from the truth. That's when they need it the most, in fact.
Yeah, that's why we've brought in someone who knows the space inside and out. And you and I both personally work with Gus for years now. It's been like 6 years or something like that.
I think it's been longer than that.
Yeah, crazy, right? How time goes by so quick. So Gus is from Lead Hunter Media, and he's been helping school owners and schools all throughout the country, even out of the country, stay visible, even when it feels like, maybe the world's at the beach and no one's thinking about us at all.
Right. So if you're wondering, how to stay top of mind, with your current students and also reaching new prospects for this summer, then you're going to definitely want to listen to this episode. So let's dive in. Gus, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure, Duane, Allie. And I'm excited to share some good information. There's been a lot of updates here just over the last year, so I wanted to kind of share some ideas with the listeners. And at the end of the day, we want to get students year round, regardless if it's summer or if it's Christmas or whatever it is. We want to make sure that we're getting students and we're building that momentum every single month.
So, look, I know that the understanding in our industry is the summertime is a slow time, but that doesn't necessarily have to be true. But my question, really is, why before we get into things that need to be done, we probably need to talk about the mindset. So why do school owners, often mistake, you make the mistake of cutting their marketing budget in the summer?
Yeah, I think a lot of school owners, and this is just not school owners, but just people in general, they're always looking to get the best return for their investment, right? So the mindset is, which is a very logical thing to think. It's like, hey, I'm going to advertise only during the good seasons because that's where I get the best ROI. And although there's some truth to that, they're not taking account the biggest driver that brings in students and that brings in success, which is momentum, right? It's like if I go and train at your school for a few months, and then I build this month 1, I'm learning. Month 2, I'm doing really well. Month 3, things click. I start getting really good. And then month 4, I stop. I take a break for, let's just say, a month. And then I try to come back. Now I've just killed all of my momentum that I just built over the last 3 months. It doesn't matter how good I got. I have to pretty much start over almost because I've killed that momentum that I built over the last few months. And that's what happens with a lot of schools. They advertise, they're doing pretty well, and then they're like, hey, let me take a break for a month or two, and then they try to come back, and it's an uphill battle. So anything that we do in life, whether it's martial arts, whether it's business, whether it's dating, whatever it is, it's all about building momentum. And eventually, when you're able to build enough momentum, then you're able to ride that momentum with less effort. So that's one of the biggest things that I see is yes, people try to maximize and get the best ROI, but when it comes to business, when it comes to, like I said, anything you do, it's about that consistency, and it's about like building those habits that are going to eventually lead to those big results.
So what actually happens, when you go silent? So if you decide, I'm going to cut it off, you lost the momentum, trying to build it all back up. Why is that such a problem? And I guess this kind of reminds me, and Allie, we've talked about this before. is the flywheel from the book called Good to Great. And I kind of liken the flywheel to the Price is Right's wheel. At the very end, that big wheel where you got to grab it and you got to pull it down, and
Yep.
it takes so much effort to yank it down in the beginning. But if you were to get that sucker going, and then just every once in a while kind of tap it and tap it and tap it, you could keep that momentum going. So Gus, back to the original question, what happens to your visibility, your momentum, once you've gone silent?
Yeah, obviously it kills your momentum. So not only do people stop seeing you, but there's other people that are still out there advertising. So like now instead of seeing you, they're gonna see your competitor. They're gonna probably forget about you, right? And now when you try to advertise again, like there's a difference between somebody seeing you all summer and then once they're ready to buy it, like let's just say once they're ready during summer or once they're ready to back to school, like there's a big difference between somebody seeing you all the time and being like, who's this person, but I'm not ready yet, versus just seeing you once and being like, oh, like I don't know if I want to maybe go with them or I want to maybe try with them, right? So it's not just about the direct ROI. There's so many things that go into it, right? Obviously, there is the brand awareness. Like people have to see your ad a ton of times.
I was
Like
just
it's
going to
not,
ask that. Like, we
yeah,
don't even
yeah,
have the measurements on, how many
yeah.
times they see your ad before they click on it, like what the average is of whether it's, 7 to 12 times. But, if you take a break, you're going to miss those, let's just say it's 8 to 12, because I'm just going to throw that in there. But if you take a break and you've only had seven,
Yeah.
now you got this break, I wonder if then that kind of resets and they got to see it another 12 times before they take action. Not to mention, I know you brought up that, your competitors where they're not taking a break, especially if they're smart. But,
Hmm.
and I think when we hear competitors, we think other martial arts schools, but that's not always the case. It's basically, in my opinion, it's other activities that could take the time away from the child that they could be spending
Correct.
with us. So, I don't want people to misconstrue the idea that, oh, well, my competitors aren't advertising during the summer. Well, wait a second. If you're only thinking about other martial arts schools, that may be true, but they're not your only competitors. And sometimes they're not even your strongest competitors. Allie, do you agree with that?
I do. And, when Gus talks about momentum, that's interesting. And by the way, I want to point out also that Gus doesn't just market for martial arts schools. He's done music studios and other type of companies. And it's the same pretty much for everybody, right? Once you stop marketing, things go dead. I always equate it like a battleship in the ocean. Once the engines are shut off, it just sits still, maybe rocking back and forth from the waves. So it takes twice the amount of momentum and energy to get that battleship going again. So what they do is they keep it moving, even if it's moving slowly, right? And think about McDonald's, like one of the largest companies in the world, brand recognition everywhere. In fact, you could go to the Egypt and right across from the big pyramids is a McDonald's way out in the distance. So they still market on a day-to-day basis, right? Think about it. That company, everyone knows who they are. But yet every day you will see an ad on television or you'll see something going on. McDonald's doesn't stop. Why would a small business stop?
Well, what about, what was it? The mobile McDonald's that went to Saudi Arabia for Trump because he's
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that they did that. Isn't that insane?
yeah.
So I think that momentum is a big lesson today, right? And by the way, it doesn't have to be full steam ahead like with the battleship. You don't have to be running at full speed, but you shouldn't just disappear off the face of the earth and stop marketing. Duane and I marketed with you throughout COVID. We had no idea where the world was going. I mean, Duane and I would talk behind the scenes, and it was a scary time. It was like, who knew if they were going to outlaw martial arts or what was going to happen? But we found a way through it, and we were like, we're not pulling our ads. We're going to keep on running ads. And by the way, I didn't get a ton of students. I didn't get those online signups that other people claimed to get. Although I have to tell you, though, my students stayed that were with me that stayed, they stayed. And the name was still out there. We were still relevant. So when we restarted back up again, live classes, we were ready to go.
Well,
Yeah,
and
and I love that.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I love that because if I really look at it, like back during COVID, like our most successful clients didn't stop in COVID. our most successful clients don't stop in summer. So again, it's that like long-term thinking that's like, hey, I'm just gonna push my brand out there. I might not get the best ROI during these times, but people are still gonna see me. I'm still gonna be riding that momentum, and eventually that momentum is going to create that big ROI because like we have leads that come in, and let's just say we get a few people coming in and they don't come in, let's just say for 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. And so you got to keep in mind those people because like what you do now, like what the results that you get now, it's not what you do now. It's what you did the last few months or a year ago, right? So
Yeah.
you always want to be planting seeds, regardless of it's like one little post on social media or continuing to run ads every single day, having people see you. Or like Ali, you've been doing a lot of guerrilla marketing, putting out flyers, right? So all those little things eventually add up, and then you just randomly start getting people from everywhere. You just randomly start getting a referral. You randomly start getting people that saw our ad and they found us on the website, right? So you want to build what I like to call undeniable momentum because once you can build that, then there's no way you're ever going to run out of students or new prospects to go after.
Well, and the opportunity during the hidden heat, if you will, so the summertime is I think there's less noise sometimes because of this mentality
Yeah.
that some of your competitors, whether they're martial artists or whether it's the gymnastics school or whatever it is, the other activities, they start to lower their advertising budget during that time, back to your point, because they think, well, I'm just not going to get a great return on my investment. So that means that we actually stand out more. So, we really should kind of double down while our competitors maybe are being silent or maybe, only doing things sporadically. We want to do the opposite. And Dan Kennedy talked about that all the time is whatever your competitors are doing, do the opposite. And that's so true in business. But I do want to say this. I had a booth at an event 2 weekends ago, and I had a few people come up to me and recognize my face and say to me, "Hey, I see you on Instagram. I
Yeah.
know it's my ads." And I go,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, yeah, thank you." And thank you for saying hi. And then I was at the courthouse the other day, and this lady, I have no idea who she is. She works at the courthouse, and she walked up to me and she says, I know you from somewhere." And I go, "You do?" And she's like, "Yes." I go, "I don't know how you know me." I said, "I own TriStar Martial Arts Academy." And she's like, "That's it. I've seen you on Instagram." And so I know it's the ads. Now,
Yeah.
did either one of those people buy? No, not that I know of. I'm sure they probably didn't. But my face, our name is getting out there, and they're putting a face to a name. And so in conversation, if something comes up, we are going to be the individual that they think about. So it's
Right.
not just, there's a compound effect. Yes, I'm spending money and I'm not getting, like you had talked about, the ROI that I would get at the beginning of the new year or the beginning of the school year, but it's a complete ROI. And this might be a good idea for school owners to understand is you need to take 12 months and do your marketing ROI return on your social media, not just, what the summer looks like, not just what the back to school looks like. Yes, you can segment those because you want to see what they look like from year to year, but you really should also do a totality of all of them so that you know what the whole year looks like. Do you disagree with that, Gus?
And no, and I completely agree with you. And that's the problem, right? It's most school owners or just business owners in general, they try to measure it like month after month, right? But it's a totally different thing when you try to measure something every month versus when you look at like the whole year and you look at the average. And again, like yes, some months are gonna be better than others, but when you look at everything as a whole, you're gonna be like, wow, I'm better off marketing the whole year, even if there are some slower months in there, than I am trying to time the market. I just read this book. I think it was The Psychology of Money. And he talks about how the best investors are the investors that just keep their money in long term. They keep their money in for 40 years, regardless of the market crashing or going up and down. Those investors make more money than somebody who's trying to time the market perfectly. And that's because of the obviously nobody could time anything. And it's because of the compound
Unless
effect.
you
It's
have
because of the
insider
momentum.
trading.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're a politician, but that's another story. But my point is like you have to be able to try your best and stay consistent. And like that's one thing that I've been doing lately with with our marketing with Lead Hunter Media. I'm like, I don't care if I get immediate results. I don't care like what happens. I'm just gonna try to outwork everybody else. I'm gonna try to put as much content out there, more emails, more like reach out to more people. Like, and I'm gonna plant as many seeds as possible because I know like I might not be getting the results right away. I might not be getting a bunch of clients this month, but I know like 3 months from now, 6 months from now, we're gonna build such undeniable momentum that that's gonna allow us to like those amount of clients are gonna allow us to build more leverage with ads and are gonna give us more funding to be able to keep expanding further. So again, people really underestimate that, and you have to have as a school owner what and as a business owner, what makes you successful is long-term thinking. Like for example, you Duane, Allie, you build so many like such a good foundation, so much momentum that you're able to think long term. So I guess I would bring this question back to you guys. Like let's just say somebody is maybe not as established. How can they balance that long-term vision with short-term results? Because I think that that's very important for a school owner to have, especially if they're not as established, but they want to get there.
Well, I'll go first, Wayne.
Mhm.
So my thoughts are number one on what you're talking about is momentum takes consistent effort, right?
Mhm.
So I'll give you an example. Look, I've been open for 30, going on 35 years. I have people who stop in my school and go, "Hey, it's so nice to see a new school open up in the area. When did you open?" And I always laugh and I say 1991 and probably before you were born, that kind of thing. So, people are always discovering you. So you could think in your mind, and I know for a fact this to be true, that I've been established for a long time. I've taught tens of thousands of people, but there are millions of people out there that have never heard of me. So if they're looking for a martial arts school at that very moment, this brand new mom with a 5-year-old, and they go on my Moms of Whatever Township, East Islip, it's like an animal has just laid down to die, and that someone says, "Hey, I'm looking for a program for my 5-year-old." There are vultures, like every single school in the area, swarm overhead immediately, and they start saying, "Well, we have a program for this, and we're giving away that." And I'm like, man, they're all fighting for that same person, right? So if you're not relevant and you're not constantly advertising, and if you're not constantly out there, no matter whether it's a fair, a parade, grassroots movie theater booth, or digital marketing of some sort, right? You're going to be hidden behind all these other offers, and you're going to lose out on the momentum and the possibility.
Yeah,
So
I agree. And I think like back to your point is you want to be the school that attracts people so that when let's just say something like that happens, you don't come off as needy or desperate. Right? Like yeah, of course you want to show them what you have, but like most of these people that are like let's just say somebody comes up, that might be their only chance for them to get a new student that week, right? So they have to really try to get that person, right? But when you're constantly marketing, when you're constantly posting content, when you're running ads, doing your guerrilla marketing, doing what you need to do, you're just naturally going to attract people. And then when opportunities like that come your way, like yeah, you can take advantage of them as well, but you're not like super desperate for them. And once you are super desperate for something, it's like you almost like repel it. So you have to be able to put yourself in a position where you become that local celebrity. People come to you, people see you everywhere, and that is going to make not only the sales a lot easier, that is going to just keep your brand in people's mind because everything's about timing. Like I'll give you an example. Like I'm right now, I took a break from training, from BJJ, Muay Thai because of a few life things that I had going on. So now I'm ready to get back into training. And I'm gonna get back into it, right? And that could be for a lot of people. Maybe somebody got a new job, maybe somebody got injured, maybe somebody is going through a tough time, right? So you never know when somebody might be ready to get back into training, or when a parent is like, hey, I want to put my child into this because my child needs to learn more discipline. So everything is about timing, and just because people see you once and they don't sign up right away, it doesn't mean that if they constantly keep seeing you, they're not gonna sign up. So again, you have to just in a world where there's so much noise, you have to put yourself out there as much as possible, because if you don't, the people that are not trying are just simply gonna get out competed. Like I know people that are like not even trying. They're not even running ads, they're not even posting content, and there's just so much competition. Like I'm sure, Ali, when you opened your school, like there was maybe like one or two schools. Now
No,
there's
I
like
mean,
30.
in all of New York
Yeah.
State, in all of New York State in 1993, there was 450 martial arts schools. All
Mhm.
of New York State that I know of. That maybe a lot of
Yeah.
underground people that you didn't hear about. Now there's like 12,000. Like no joke,
Yeah.
in my town that I'm in, I must have 12 schools surrounding me within a 4 mile radius. 12 schools, and they open up like every other, it seems like every other day a new school is popping up somewhere. So like that's, look, we always, the cliche is martial art people or other schools are not our competition. It's dance, it's this, it's that. But really honestly, if someone's looking for martial arts, if I was the only person in town, they pretty much would come to me. But now they have a choice of 10, 12 people, and if they step a little bit outside the town, they have another 20. So it's not like, I was joking at breakfast this morning. I said, I think that I'm pretty special. I think I'm pretty unique. I think I'm the best, right? Like, without an ego, I'm just joking with that. But like saying that I think that people should be at my school. But not everyone feels that way. So they're just going around and they're feeling what fits their narrative, what they like the best feeling that they got for their personality. Years ago, it would be me because I was the only guy in town. Now they have 12 other people to choose from, which is tough. And that doesn't include other activities like ninja obstacle course or, soccer, t-ball, baseball, football, hockey. And those are year-round sports now. They're not just, they have indoor leagues, outdoor leagues, nighttime games. Like it used to just be a certain segment of the calendar. Now it's every day, everywhere, everything. So we have a lot of competition.
Yeah, the world is just going to, especially with AI and social media, the world is just going to continue getting more and more competitive. And the people that are not trying are just simply going to get left behind, unfortunately. Like, I'll give you an example. We've worked so hard this last year, year and a half to create the best product in the martial arts industry in terms of marketing. Like, we just rebuilt our whole training platform. Like, we have a 6 week training platform for our clients. We custom build this AI system for our clients that nurtures the leads, books them on people's calendars, right? And as we were doing that, we kind of just stopped running ads. We like relied more on referrals. We were just getting a lot of people with the referrals. We were trying to increase our retention, right? So once we started advertising again, like here recently, there was like 20 other agencies like pop out of nowhere
Oh my
that I didn't
God,
even know existed.
they're
Yeah.
everywhere, Gus. It's like
Yeah,
everyone,
yeah.
and some of them are young. Like I mean, you're young, but I mean, like it looks like they just got out of elementary school. Like
Well,
they're like
I mean, I just turned 30. I'm not that young, but I'm
dude, you're
getting there.
young. When you're 60, which I am, and
Yeah.
Dwayne's younger than me too. Dwayne, you're what, 40 something?
51.
51. So I'm like
Yeah.
I'm the oldest man in the room. And but you know what? They're everywhere, dude. And they're
Mhm.
not like they're all coming after martial arts schools. And some of them have never dealt with martial arts. They're not martial artists, they're just
Yeah.
marketers. And I've had friends that have used these companies and they get screwed. I mean,
Mhm.
they do not work. Like they
Yeah, so
promise them the world and never come through.
Well,
yeah,
look, here's the thing that, not only, and we discussed this, you and I did, Gus, years ago.
mhm.
And quite honestly, I think we've probably been with you for 8 years because I know it was at least 2 years, if not 3 years before COVID. So
Really.
I think we've been about 8 years. But anyways, I wish I could remember. But one thing that we talked about is when somebody likes your ad, when they click on it and they like your ad, or, they make a comment on the ad. That's something that we also need to be involved with. So, in as much as you drove them there, they clicked on it, they saw the ad, they liked it, they didn't do anything further. But just I look at it as they liked it. They're like, yeah, this is pretty neat, but I'm not ready yet. So they didn't like put their information in, but they liked it. So what I do is, and after discussing things with you about this, is when you go there, you see that they liked it, and then right next to their name, you can there's an invite button, so you can invite them to actually like your page. Now, whether they do it or not, you can't make them do that.
Right, right.
But you also can click on them and then message them through your Facebook Messenger. Let's just say Facebook, and say, "Hey, thanks for liking our school's ad." Like, you can come up with whatever. If you have any questions about our free trial, please let me know. Boom. And here's the link if you're interested. Like, that's it. It's just like, "Hey, I saw you look at me across the bar. Are you still interested?" Like, that's all you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I dated a very beautiful blonde girl when I was younger, and was at a diner late at night after my band performed, and this girl was like looking at me, and I thought she was giving me like a nasty look. So I finally got up and I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, "Oh no, I thought you were cute. I wanted to see if you wanted to go out." I'm like, "Yes," but like, you never know who's watching, right? You never know what their intentions are. Like you just said, you reach out and you say, "Hey," and by the way, you're taking that next step, Duane, that maybe some people took the first step, but then they forgot about you and they wouldn't have done anything. And now you said, "Hey, are you interested?" And they go, "Oh yeah, I am." You led them down that pathway. They were hanging like a little, what do they call, a low hanging fruit, right? Like, you just need to go out and pick it.
Well,
so
here's the deal. I was
yeah,
just going to say real quickly, and then you can chime in.
yeah.
If I paid money to get somebody to click on it, and I don't follow up and say, "Hey, I noticed you. Are you, here's the information. Are you interested?" And, not impeding, just asking,
Right.
then, I'm letting dollars go to waste.
Yes, you are.
Sorry to cut you off, Gus. What were you going to say?
No worries. So yeah, I think one observation that I've made working with a bunch of school owners, and I think this is just human nature, like we're afraid of rejection. Like we're afraid of reaching out to people and them being like, "Oh, I'm not interested," or no, like rejecting you, right? So I think a lot of people kind of shy away from maximizing reaching out as much as possible because of that factor. So and especially like we have a lot of martial artists that pride themselves on their close rate, right? Like whenever you ask a martial artist, "What's your close rate?" They're like, "I have a 99.9% close rate." I'm exaggerating, of course, but everybody kind of prides themselves on their close rate. And although they might have a good close rate when it's a referral or when they're coming from Google and they're super warm leads, that's going to be a lot different than somebody coming from paid ads, right? Because paid ads is more interruption marketing where people don't know who you are, people never seen your website, they don't know how great of an instructor you are, they haven't seen your testimonials, right? Versus somebody that maybe like let's say somebody has never run ads before, they're used to people coming from Google, which people are searching for them. They already know that they want to do martial arts. They've already seen their website, their testimonials. Maybe they're coming from a referral. So those are two completely different sales process. And that's where school owners go wrong is they try to treat those two leads, a warm lead and a cold lead, the same, and they end up getting frustrated and they end up saying that Facebook doesn't work or this doesn't work. But in reality, it's just a different approach, and they have to be able to see, like, how do I explain it? Like, not see what it is, but know that there's a different sales process. There's a different approach.
Yes.
So I think that's one thing, right? Again, getting over that fear of rejection, which again, I like to just you're planting seeds. You're putting your name out there. Whatever happens, happens. But you're getting the word out there of your school. So I think one thing I really like about you, Duane and Allie, is that you guys try to maximize everything. We're running ads, we're getting leads, but you're like, how can I do better? Let me message these people. Let me have them like my page. Let me do this, right? So you're always kind of in a collaborative frame, which I think a lot of school owners, they fail when hiring agencies because they just think it's like a done for you miracle. Hey, you bring me leads, and if they don't show up or sign up, then the leads are bad quality, right? So again, people have to understand that when you're hiring a marketing company, whether it's us or whether it's anybody else, it has to be a partnership. Like I'm very, very like I consider it more of like a coaching relationship with our clients, and I don't shy away from like keeping them accountable, making sure that they're coachable, giving them feedback, them giving us feedback, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not just about telling you what you want to hear, it's about working together to actually make sure that you're getting enrollments every month.
Yeah, totally. And the other thing alongside, I'm just going to say this because we've talked about this, and I really want other school owners to know this. I look, Allie and I pay you to drive somebody to a landing page from an ad that you created. That's it. And unless we're utilizing your service to follow up with them, then we've got to come up with that service on our own because that's the next
Yeah,
level to
yeah.
that. And so, you know, and you know me, I'm a control freak, so I want to do everything myself. But still, just the same, whether your service is doing it or ours, it has to be done. And so I'll just give an example. Is I already talked about the fact when somebody likes the post, I'm going to invite them. I'm going to message them. But then anybody that gets into our system that opts in for the free trial, I have automations that are set up to push them to book the trial. And I'll speak about that in just a second. But let's say in a perfect world, they go from opting in to booking their trial. Well, that's beautiful because now I have systems that are set up to remind them about their trial. And if they don't show up, we have systems to follow up that they didn't show up. Now, going back to the fact that they opted in and they weren't the perfect person and they didn't, set up their trial, we have mechanisms that are set up to follow up with them. They're not their texts, their emails, they're also phone calls. We get on the phone and we actually call them. Why? I paid Gus to give me someone to talk to. It would be rude of me, number one, to not talk to them. It would be stupid of me to pay someone to send a lead to me and me not at least call them once, although we end up calling them 7 different times throughout a 12-day period. That's just how we have it set up. Now, besides that, I have a daily email, Monday through Sunday, that I create that goes out at 5:30 a.m. every single morning, and it's all benefits driven, and it's set up in a way because I used AI and I gave it parameters on how I want it to be structured. There's only 3 offers a week, and it rotates, so it's not always Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. There is at least one testimonial story that's in there because I've fed it a bunch of testimonials that I've gotten from clients. And there's like, we could go in deep here, but like I even did a survey with my clients. I put the information into the survey. Like there's a bunch of stuff that I did in order to set up this AI. But that, and the cool thing is when I actually started doing daily emails, I saw an uptick of people booking. It was quite interesting. Now, it's kind of leveled off compared to when I first started, but because that, and I started that in actually December. Towards the end of December, I started daily emails to my list. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, aren't you going to get people that are going to opt out? Yes, they are going to opt out. But guess what? Now I've segmented my list. They don't want to hear from me, which is okay. I don't want to spend my time. Not that I really was anyways, but I don't want to spend my time talking to those people. And to your point, I have to be okay with that. There's some people that don't want to talk to me, even though they've given me their information. I have to be okay with rejection. They're not necessarily rejecting me. They're just rejecting the fact that they don't want to do that right now.
Correct.
And sorry to have a long monologue.
No, you're good. And I think it's very important. Like nowadays, we've gotten so advanced. Like I think before it was like, oh, well, you get a lead and if you close it, right? But I think now we've gotten to the point where we literally give you everything in a silver platter. Like we have obviously the ads, that's a big portion of it. Making sure we're getting the right leads, making sure we're getting qualified leads. And then the second thing is the actual follow-up, right? So now we built an AI system that actually follows up with the leads and has a real conversation with them based on the information of your school. So we have a very custom form that clients fill out. We plug that in into the AI, and then once a lead comes in, our AI actually starts a conversation with them. The great thing about that is that it can be 3 in the morning, and the AI will still have a conversation with people, right? It can be 3 in the afternoon. It works 24/7. So I think the biggest problem people have nowadays it's lead quality, and that's because they're simply not responding to the lead fast enough. If you're getting to a lead a few hours later, or you have like I know you have pretty advanced automations, Duane, but let's just say somebody has like a very basic automation, or even worse, you didn't have an automation at all, or a follow-up system in place, right? You're not really going to be able to maximize that lead as much as possible. So what we like to do is get a lead, make sure obviously like it's the correct radius. We're not targeting people that are 50 miles away, right? We make sure that the people are coming in. And then from there, we have our AI system kind of take over. We get them to book an appointment. And then if they don't book an appointment, we get the AI to continue following up with them, right? And that's really that's kind of been night and day for us in terms of results. So that's the second portion of it. Okay, now we have our follow-up system. Now it's dialed in. Okay, now that is going to increase our nurture rates. That is going to increase our show-up rates. People are going to close because they feel heard, and we're going to maximize the amount of appointments that we get as well. And then the third step is okay, now it's the sales process. So how can I get more people to show up? How can I actually have a sales process that converts people? We just launched this 6 week platform for our clients, and Duane, week three is the training that we did on your entire sales process and how you broke it down and how you do it. And when people see that training, they're like, wow, there's actually a lot that goes into it. I just thought I got somebody in the door and I just show them my price and they just sign up, right? But it's you have a whole elaborate system, right? So we want to again build these systems and iterate as we go. A lot of people think, oh, I'll start working with a marketing company and we're gonna get results right away. But the reality is every school is different. Every school owner is different. Every area is different. Some school owners might be already really good at follow-up. Some schools might already like be tech savvy. So we have to make those small iterations as we go, and those you have to continue getting better at certain things. You have to get better at how you are on the phone. You have to get better at how you are with communicating with people, how your sales presentation is, right? And once we can improve and iterate all those things in a few months, it's going to be a night and day difference in terms of a system that you build that is going to continuously bring you more students.
So the short answer to the question, should you run ads in the summertime, is yes, correct?
Correct. Yeah, you should be running ads year round. And like I said before, millions of times, like all of our most successful clients, they never stop advertising. They're running ads 24/7. They're running ads on Christmas, back to school. They're running ads in summer, right? And we're actually getting a lot of like, we have a lot of clients. I guess it's almost summer, and our clients are getting a lot of leads still. Like we just, and that's another thing that where people go wrong when they hire a marketing company is that they hire somebody that doesn't really adapt. The reason why we can make ads work year round is because we're always running new graphics, new creatives. We're always running new seasonal themed ad copies. Like we just switched a bunch of our clients to like summer ad copies. I think Duane, you were one of them, and our lead flow just increased because of that, right? So now we are promoting the summer offer, right? We're promoting a reactivation campaign, reaching out to all those leads that didn't like that we have on our pipeline that didn't necessarily sign up a few months ago. Now we're like, hey, we have a summer promo. Maybe you have 100 people, 500 people in there. That's a big response of people that will come back and sign up for those types of promos, right? So again, you want to be building momentum. You want to be planning as many seeds as possible, and eventually you're going to see that big payoff. And it's great to look at something and think of something long term because it allows you to view things clearly versus if you're trying to be like, oh, let me try this for a month. And that's why we don't do like agreements like that for a month anymore, right? Because like let's just say I were to train martial arts for like I would train in your school for a month. Like would I yeah, I mean I would learn some stuff, but would I really get the big results? Not really. Like it maybe take me, a few months to kind of dial it in and get really good, right? So that's the way you have to think about your marketing. But most people think about it, oh well, like if it doesn't work in a month, then it doesn't work. Well, that's not how life works. That's not how momentum, how business works. So you have to be able to adapt that mindset that you have maybe in your training to your marketing.
Yeah, no, I disagree, or I agree. I don't disagree is where I was going to say. What about ad costs? Do they, I mean, I know ad costs are going up. Like they just always go up. Nothing goes down. I guess the price of eggs have
Yeah.
gone down, but the gasoline a little bit has gone down. But really, it's only going to go down so much because there's going to be a bottom out, right? Where you
Yeah.
just can't go any lower anymore. So everything goes up. But do ad costs? So an ad in the summertime, is it really higher, or is it about the same? Or like in the
Yeah.
past, what have you seen?
Yeah, so ad costs they basically go by bids, right? So let's just say that we have 10 schools and they're all trying to run ads at the same time. Well, obviously ad costs are going to be higher because you're more people are bidding, right? But during summertime, no, like if nobody is really advertising, then you may get ad costs at a lower cost, which is great because yeah, I mean, you're not getting like an ROI like you already get, let's just say back to school, but you're still putting your brand out there. You're getting lower costs. You're still getting leads. You're still kind of, how do you say it? It's like people try to, again, maximize it, but they're not planning to offset what they're losing, right? So like, let's just say this is just like, let's just say the average Joe school owner. And he's like, I'm not going to market during the summer. So what happens is he stops marketing and then not only he stops marketing, he loses a bunch of students during the summer because of the natural dip, right? And so like not only does he lose students, he kills his momentum. Now when he tries to maybe remarket him back to school, now he probably doesn't even have a budget to advertise because he lost so many students and he wasn't able to offset that with marketing. So now he's in a really bad spot, right? So that's school owner A versus school owner B. Let's just say like you doing, you didn't stop advertising. You had people drop off during the summer, but you made up for it in new students from the ads, and you kept your momentum. You kept people seeing you during summer. So now when back to school rolls around, those people from that saw you during the summer, now they're ready to buy. Now that they've seen you all summer, they sign up with you. You're not in a bad financial position because you're still going up in enrollments because you didn't stop, right? So these are scenario B, right? So like what school owner do you want to be? It's like A or B, but people don't think about it that way, right? People think, oh, I'm not gonna get the best return during summer, so I'm gonna stop. But they don't think about all these things that I just mentioned. And again, that all comes where you have to think about the big picture of things because there's a big differences between school owner A and B. And if I didn't put it that way to some people, then maybe they wouldn't have understood that. But there's a big difference in results that they get, right? So obviously you want to be school owner B where you don't get yourself into trouble, you're offsetting the students that you're getting, and you're building that undeniable momentum as you go.
I think the other part to that too is you have to charge a price that is going to give you the dollars to be able to advertise. So if you're still charging $100 a month, there's no way that you're going to be able to have enough money, in my opinion, to have enough money to be able to charge, or excuse me, to be able to pay a service to get you leads. And I don't know where the threshold is, and I know every places have different prices, meaning like, how expensive it is to operate, let's say in New York City compared to, Bradley, Illinois for myself. I know that there's a difference between my two schools. Bradley, it's a lot cheaper to operate. Like my operating costs in Bradley are a lot lower, dramatically lower than my operating costs in New Lenox. And they're only 40 minutes away. And so, but so the price that you charge for your program really has to be thought of and thought about in your marketing totality. Does that make sense?
No, I agree, and that's why we charge a premium price. You have some of my competitors are charging like 300 a month or 500, something crazy. I'm like, how can you afford to hire good talent, or how can you afford to build great systems and really over deliver for your clients when like there's just no way, you know? So we charge a premium service, and I think that also when you raise your prices, it forces you to level up. It forces you to try to make your service the best possible service that it can be, because you want it to match the value, right? That you're giving, you want it to match the price. So when you do raise your prices, not only do you get more capital to reinvest in your business, reinvest in better equipment and all these things, but it also forces you to level up as a like business owner and be like, okay, how can I make this better? How can I make this so valuable that me raising my price, it doesn't really matter because I'm giving so much away and I'm doing so much for people. So I agree with you. I think a lot of people don't don't charge what they should be charging, and that is also going to hold them back. Being the cheapest, like I've had so many schools that are struggling come to me. They're like, hey, I'm really struggling. These competitors are really beating me, and I'm the cheapest. So like, I don't understand how I'm the cheapest, and people are still choose to go to a more expensive school. It's because it's not about being the cheapest. It's about your presentation. It's about your marketing. It's about your branding. It's about showcasing the value, like how do you say the perceived value, right? So that those are big factors. It's not just about being the cheapest. It's not just about price. It's about the way people perceive you and how you put your name out there.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'll go back to the survey that I spoke about, that I fed into AI. And not that I didn't think it was going to come down to this, but it was quite interesting. What do I run? I run a martial arts school. What was the number one thing that people brought their kids in to my studio for? Confidence and focus. Those were the two highest. It wasn't even self-defense. Wasn't even self-defense. And so, the interesting thing is that we as martial arts school owners are, marketing our self-defense and thinking that, parents are going to pay. And look, there are other schools in either one of those towns, right? Especially in Bradley. There's other schools that I have in Bradley that can teach you self-defense, and they can teach it to you cheaper. But the life skills, the things that parents are definitely looking for, even over the self-defense, because I've done the surveying, that's where we come in. And so that's why we charge a premium price, is because those things are a lot harder to teach than, the kicking and punching. That's actually the easiest part to teach. Now, Allie, I do have to point out that this is the quietest that you have been on a podcast ever.
I can't get a word in edgewise with you guys.
So,
well, thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, I have one thing that I wanted to bring up that I think that we're missing out on, is that throughout this entire thing with summer, there are people out there that are looking for summer activities that they're not involved. Maybe sports let out. Now the kids are out of school and they have nothing to do. We should be trying to pick up that portion of the market. Like, for example, a summer 3-month special at a discounted rate, just to get them through the door and get them training and active. And I have 3,000 people on my email list through Spark that I'm going to send out this offer to, with a nice flyer, and to get them in. I think that's most schools forget that there's a portion of the population that want to just do something over the summer. Now, of course, once we win them over, hopefully they're going to stay with us. So we don't have to only look at the people who are leaving and not doing martial arts. We have to look at the people who have nothing to do that want to do the martial arts. So that's why we should be advertising. That is why we should be sending out emails to our existing clients and asking for them to bring in their siblings. We should be looking for them to give us referrals of people who need something to do over the summer. If we run camps, that's a big deal. We should be pushing that as well. So it really all depends on where your mind is. People shouldn't just shut down. The bottom line is, right, Gus, people think it's a slow time. So what does it become? A slow time, right? It's like our society today where everyone thinks the world is, in the toilet. So what do they believe? Or they think that they're in a certain nationality or race of people that are looked down upon. Yet there are millions of others that don't take on that persona and they become the most successful in the world. So school owners, I'm trying to say, don't believe the hype. Don't necessarily shut down. Yes, there are certain times that it's slower. Yes, to a certain extent, people will get lazy over the summer, right? But this is why you have to think of innovative new things to do. You should be doing every fair, every parade. You should be doing in-house events. Like I'm doing a parent show. We're doing a booth at the Karate Kid Legends premiere. We're renting the theater out to bring our students to come and watch the movie. We're going to a local baseball stadium. We have a minor league baseball team that plays in our area, literally 10 minutes from my school. We're going to go, we have already 60 tickets sold. We're all going to just go and watch the game. Like, this is the time where you should start picking things up. Stop with the, it's slow and I don't have the energy, or, I'm broke, I'm going out of business. No, you got to get out there and double down.
I agree. And being a slow time is subjective. Like I just had a client last week get 37 leads in a small town, which is insane for, I guess it's supposed to be slow in summer. So it's everything subjective to your effort and your mindset, right? Like there's been instances where people have not been getting as many leads, but they were super committed in the process and they were actually closing a lot of people. And then I've had people where they've gotten a ton of leads that maybe weren't as committed, maybe didn't have a great mindset, and they weren't closing them as much. Like maybe they'll close a few, right? So it's all subjective to your mindset, your effort, and just, again, putting in the work and building that consistency and momentum.
And you have to educate yourself on the areas that you're least qualified in. So I'm going to give you a quick example. I am a good salesman. I could sell anything. I literally could sell, a tank top to someone in the middle of winter. But that doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going to buy, but there are certain techniques to signing up and selling. I think martial arts school owners have the persona that if you're a salesperson, that you're a sellout, you're a McDojo, you're a guy who's just a money guy, But I'll give you an example. Just the other day, I had a person come in. It was their first class. And I said, they were recommended by another student. So already they knew that the school was for them. The kid loved it. So I said, and they were on a 2-week special. I said, why don't we get them signed up today and get them the uniform? And the dad said yes. The mom said, yeah, I think so. And she was a little undecided. So I said, okay, Kimberly, my one assistant, go get the uniform. And then I walked out of the room. I came back in. She's putting the uniform back on the shelf. And I'm going, what's going on? They said, oh, yeah, I think we're going to wait. We're going to live out the 2 weeks and see how it goes. And I said, yeah, but you loved what you're going to do. You're probably going to go home and talk yourself out of it, because that's what happens. Maybe he falls down. Maybe he doesn't win a race. Maybe he doesn't do whatever in class. I said, why don't we get him signed up right now? And they said, nah, I don't know. And I said, well, what in the perfect world, what could I do right now to get you signed up? And so what I'm saying is I was more persistent with the sale. Normally I would have been like, okay, yeah, live out the 2 weeks and do your thing. Well, anyway, lo and behold, we signed them up, and they didn't sign up for the basic program. They signed up for our Black Belt Club program. And it was just a matter of me using all the techniques that I've ever learned when it came to sales, overcoming objections, making sure I understood what was holding them back, what was their fear. And then I got them to sign up, and they've been coming and loving the classes. So that's something that school owners sometimes don't want to do. They're afraid to learn. They don't want to train, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's where we need to start working on if you're a fighter and every time you fight, you get punched in the face. Once I had a student that says, I keep getting punched in the face. What do? I said, block. He says, oh, I'm trying to block. I go, block better. Learn how to block better, or else you're going to keep getting punched in the face, right? Like, learn how to sell. Learn how to be a business person, or put someone in place that can sell. Find the right person. But that's a lot of times people get a lead. The lead doesn't sign up. It's your fault, Gus. That lead wasn't qualified. They sucked. Like when I used to market and I'd run newspaper ads, I didn't know what kind of lead was going to call me. I couldn't say, oh, that was a terrible lead. It was a lead. That's all I cared about. They, like Duane says, they raised their hand and said, I'm interested, right? It's my fault if I fail, or if they don't sign up, I move on to the next person just as aggressively, just as professionally, just as intensely, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
All right, I made up for lost time just then.
you're fine. Yeah, no, no. We got to close out, but some final takeaways, Gus. Obviously you agree that we cannot stop our ads throughout the summer. So I'm sure that's at least a number one takeaway, right?
Correct. Yes. Like number one is don't stop marketing. Again, our most successful schools market year round. And you have to think about not only the immediate results, but you have to think about these other factors that nobody thinks about because every school owner thinks, oh, okay, I market for a month. This is how much I spend. This is how much I get. Right. But you're not thinking about the intangibles. And I think that if you can start thinking in a different way, that you're really going to put yourself in a good position because you're not going to be thinking short term like everybody else. You're going to be thinking long term. And when people think long term, that's when they get the best results because they can think so far out. And let's just say you have a month, it's okay, but maybe the next month is good. And then eventually, like you said, Dwayne, over the last 12 months, yeah, you see some slower months, but then you see some really good months. And as a collective, you had a really good year. So you have to be able to think about it that way. Don't stop marketing. Make sure you're building that undeniable momentum because once you've been running ads for a few months and you're building, like Allie has a list of 3,000 people, which is insane in his list. And once you start building a list like that, like you're never going to run out of customers. You're never going to run out of prospects. Allie can send an email tomorrow to 3,000 people and he's going to get a lot of people signing up. And which
Maybe,
most school
maybe,
owners, yeah,
maybe, right? Like, but at
yeah.
least I'm going to send it out.
Yeah, exactly. So what my point is, but you have that option. Most school owners, they're let's just say that they're low on cash. They don't have the option to market to 3,000 people or 100 people or even 50 people, right? So once we're building ads, we're building this momentum, we're signing people up, we are building that database of prospects that we can keep remarketing to, and then we just keep going. And eventually you'll get to a point where you're building such undeniable momentum that you're just riding that wave and you're able to reinvest more. You're able to do more things. You're able to run new programs. And that's the position that you want to be because then you're very free to do whatever you want in the terms of marketing your school, different things that you can get into.
Look, I look at Lead Hunter Media as a dating service, and all you're doing is you're introducing me to someone new that's raised their hand. And from there, it's my responsibility to handle that person, correctly. Introduce myself, find out what they're looking for, see if we can provide. And that's it. And, yes, you have a back end for an AI that does some of that stuff. But that's not what I'm saying. And I personally don't use that service because I have my own that I built. But if I didn't, I would definitely use yours because I would need to have something, right? But still, even beyond that, I still do other things to follow up with those individuals. Just like, I talked about the daily emails that I started back in December. I saw a bump. I saw more people booking. And so I can't just rely on the fact that because you ran an ad for me, that I'm going to have thousands of people or hundreds of people signing up every single month, because that's just not true. You're just introducing them to me. And then how I handle it from there, it's my responsibility. Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I mean, again, like I said, we've gotten so advanced to the point where we give you everything in a silver platter. But I agree. It's a partnership and you have to be able to put as much effort on your part as possible, right? Like if you want to maximize the service, and of course we have to do our job. But like you said, it's not just about hey, we'll run ads and that's it. Like you have to keep building those different things and you have to keep marketing in different ways because like you never know what's gonna hit one month or the other month, right? So it's great to just have that habit of constantly be marketing, always be marketing, like Ali says. So you want to make sure that you're putting in that effort because that's
Yeah.
what's gonna make this. That's what's gonna make this work. It's that effort and that consistency when it comes to your marketing.
Yeah, so listen, this was great, and we're running out of time, or if we're already over time. So, this was packed with value and a powerful reminder that your social media presence and your digital marketing should never take a vacation, right, Duane?
Exactly. And whether you have, you know, 10 students, 300 students, staying visible, staying present, and being consistent, like Gus talked about, being consistent online is really one of the best ways to, hold on to what you've built, but then also set the stage for explosive growth this fall.
Yeah, and a big thank you, of course, to Gus Lopez, Lead Hunter Media. If anyone is interested, reach out to Gus, leadhuntermedia.com. And Gus will go over, do a evaluation, talk to you about your marketing plans. And trust me when I tell you that and by the way, not everything that Gus ran, every ad every special that I put out worked. So rather than me blaming Gus and getting mad at him, I said, well, what could we do, Gus, to make this work? This offer is not good right now. What could we do? And we would play with it until, like, I went from a 1 month free to now a 2 week free. I made that adjustment. So you and I always communicated, and we just kept working together as a partnership to get it to work better for me. Because look, if you don't make it work for me, I'm going to cancel and go somewhere else. So you're working hard to make sure that I'm happy, and happy means I'm getting results and getting leads, right? So, I want to thank you for that and, helping us break it all down today.
Yes, thank you for having me. And of course, always a great time being on the podcast and sharing ideas. And I know we do this like every 6 months or every 12 months. So I love sharing the new ideas that I have. And I hope that this helps some school owners out there market for summer.
Excellent. Well, and look, if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to share it with other school owners, and subscribe to our podcast, schoolownertalk.com. You can go there. You can go to iTunes, Spotify. We're all over there. If you need to reach Gus, feel free to go to leadhuntermedia.com, or you can even look up his name, Gus Lopez, on Facebook, and he responds very quickly.
Yeah, so everybody, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. I appreciate all of you. Take care, everybody.
Now that's a wrap. Another episode of Martial Arts School Owner Talk is in the vast library. We appreciate you tuning in and being part of this incredible community. A huge thank you to everyone who makes this podcast possible, including our sponsors, such as EliteInsights.com, your go-to high-performing website company for martial arts schools, LeadHunterMedia.com, your expert in digital media and content creation for martial arts schools. AddHealthCoaching.com, helping school owners unlock a powerful revenue stream by providing the tools and framework to become a health coach. Thanks again for joining us. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share our show with other school owners and friends. See you on the next episode.